In this unit, we'll introduce you to a guy by the name of Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. He was an evolutionary theorist who believed that acquired characteristics were inherited and passed on from generation to generation. We'll also take a look at how there isn't really much evidence to show that his theory holds true today. Lamarck recognized that there were variations within populations. In this instance, we can see that butterflies have all sorts of different coloration. So the problem that he was trying to solve was, how do you get all these different variations within a population? Even in plants, he recognized that there were all sorts of different variations within a population. But even more perplexing was not the variation within a population, but all the variations that you see on the planet between species that gives us the massive biodiversity that we see on the planet today. So first, a little background about Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. Lamarck was a French guy, and he lived between 1744 and 1829, which is nearly 200 years ago. So the theory of evolution has actually been around for quite a while now, but it's been changing as we gather more and more evidence. This French biologist recognized that there were all sorts of variations amongst animals on the planet. So he came up with a theory to explain all the diversity. He described evolution as organisms that acquire traits during their lifetime somehow pass these new traits on to their offspring. We know now that these traits are controlled by alleles. So Lamarck was basically stating that organisms gain new alleles during their lifetime, and they pass them on to their offspring. So at the end of the day, this idea of acquired traits really means that all the giraffes that used to have short necks developed longer necks so they could reach the branches of the trees. Unlike Darwin, Lamarck believed that living things evolved in a continuously upward direction from dead matter through simple to more complex forms toward human perfection. Therefore, species didn't die out in extinctions. Lamarck claimed that instead they changed into other species. Since both simple organisms and complex advanced animals exist today, Lamarck had to come up with an explanation for why we all don't have the perfected acquired traits that developed over time. So he thought that at any given time, new life was constantly being created from dead matter by spontaneous generation. According to Lamarck, organisms altered their behavior in response to the environmental changes. Their changed behavior, in turn, modified their organs, and their offspring also inherited these improved structures. Part of Lamarck's theory stated that traits that we use end up developing, while traits that we don't use end up disappearing. So if we were to remove the tail of a mouse, because it's not using it, we would expect the offspring to be born without tails. But that's not actually what happens, does it? In fact, if we were to allow the next generation to populate, they would be born with tails too. So the idea of acquired traits from generation to another really doesn't hold up. But it's also very important to note that while Lamarck's theory is not accepted in the scientific world today, it was still very important in helping put evolution on the map.